Ciao, I'm Mary Ann Esposito.
And I'm RJ Joyce.
Today, from dishwasher to restaurant owner, Ryan Joyce, we are cooking some fabulous meals. 25 years ago, a young man joined the production crew of Ciao Italia, Ryan Joyce. He washed dishes, worked hard, made people laugh, especially me. And today, he's the proud co-owner of the Carriage House restaurant in Rye, New Hampshire. A great place to eat and a great place to meet up again with an old friend who's still very young at heart. Ryan, I love being in the kitchen with you. As you know, you've been in the kitchen with me many times. So you want to make this beautiful kale crostini. So we have to start with really good bread for that. So you want to cut yourself some nice slices. Something that's got a nice crumb to it, like that, right, Ryan?
You got it.
And then you can either put these in a little bit of olive oil on top of the stove and get them nice and crusty, or you could put them in the oven and bake them. And after you do, Ryan's done some, they look like this, see? Nice and hard. And now we're ready to put that beautiful kale topping on it. So, what do we do?
So first up, this is some kale from our family farm. And so what we want to do first is get it off the rib right there.
Yes.
That's the most tender part.
Okay.
I'll show you my trick. You can show me yours.
Okay.
So what we usually do is just kind of grab the base here, keep it nice and rustic. It's not going to be beautiful linear lines. Strip it all the way up to the top.
I learn something every time. I just kind of like peel it right along the rib, see?
I like
just
that way
like
too.
that. That's it. Okay, so how much do we need?
We need about 1 cup of chopped.
Okay, and we should say that this is a really good vegetable, right? Got a lot of vitamin K, and if you're in Tuscany, this is really a vegetable that they use for a soup called ribollita, which means reboiled, in which kale plays a really big role. So that's another way to use it, but this is going to be great. So we need about a cup, you said?
Yeah, about a cup. It's going to cook, it's going to kale like spinach and a lot of other greens. It's going to cook right down.
Yeah, and it's a very popular vegetable right now. Kale has really come into its own recently, hasn't it? Because
Sure has.
People realize that it is a very good vegetable.
Yeah,
All right, so,
juicing, eating.
All right, then what's going to go with the kale?
So what we start with is just a little bit of the pancetta.
Okay.
And then some garlic and onions. We kind of sweat everything down there. And then we're going to add the kale and a little bit of chicken stock to kind of cook that kale. And let that go for just a couple minutes. And then what we do is toss in some rosemary stems as well too.
Yeah, that
The whole
sounds
stem.
good.
We just want the oil and stuff out of there.
Okay, yeah.
And so we just let this cook and we'll pull them out.
All right, good. So, you know, in other parts of Italy, crostini are known as bruschetta, right? So if you're going to call it bruschetta, not bruschetta, because that would be a no-no. All right, so we have about a cup, don't you think?
I think so.
Okay, so let's move on to moving into that frying pan with the pancetta.
One interesting thing that you could do if you're short on time, you could put the pancetta, which is coming in first right now.
Okay, so that's unsmoked Italian bacon pancetta.
And you can put the onions.
Oh, you're putting everything in at one time.
If you're short on time,
that's
you
a
can
good
sweat
idea.
everything down at the same time.
Okay.
If you have the time, you could do the pancetta first, let that crisp up, then the onions, then the garlic.
Okay.
But if you're short on time, you're just going to sweat everything and let it all render out together.
Oh, good. So the onions, the garlic, and the pancetta.
You got it.
Wonderful. This is going to be really tasty.
Yeah, and what's great with this is it's a nice hearty starter.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long to make.
No. This is something anybody can do, really, because you can find kale. There's no problem finding kale.
So we're just going to give this just 1 minute so these onions are starting to be a little translucent.
Okay.
And then we're going to just pop the rosemary stems. So we want the oil in there.
Yeah.
So we're going to just take the full stems. I'm going to take them out later on.
Okay.
We're just going to build everything right on top.
So just about a minute for this, and then we're ready to go? Okay,
then we're going to throw this kale, put everybody in the pool. So we're just going to, we're ready for the kale.
All right.
Let's put the kale in.
Okay. That enough?
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
So we're just going to give the kale a quick stir, just let it get some of that pancetta fat.
Yes.
Just in there.
Really
then we're just going to put the chicken stock right on top and let it cook the kale.
Okay, and that's going to take what, 10 minutes maybe?
10 minutes tops.
Okay, so we're just going to let that cook down, uncovered.
We can do it uncovered if you want to. Again, if you're short on time again,
Yeah.
you can speed up this process by putting a lid on it.
Okay. All right, so now you're going to add cannellini beans. Those are very Tuscan.
You got it.
And you can get them in a can, rinsed really well, right, Ryan?
Absolutely.
Or you could get dried beans and soak them, but you'd have to do that overnight. So this is an easier way to go. So you rinsed off all the beans, right?
You got it. So
Yeah.
these in the can, just give them a quick rinse.
Yeah.
They're ready to go.
Okay. So now what? They go
All right.
in.
All the kids in the pool.
Okay. Okay. All the kids in the pool. All the beans in the pool. Okay.
You got it. So just give them a coat right here.
Yeah.
And then just because these things are already, the canned beans are already cooked.
Right.
So we're just going to let these guys just go another couple minutes.
Okay.
5 minute tops will incorporate all the flavor.
Okay.
So the beans are cooked down
Yeah.
and incorporated in there. So the only thing we want to do is just get all this rosemary stems just out of there. So we're
Okay.
going to just pull this guy. Easier said than done.
Okay.
Right out here.
Yeah.
And then, so what we want to do is just, these beans have already been cooked a couple times now. So we want to mash up just about half of them. And we'll do it in this pot. It will save a lot of mess.
Okay.
And so it's going to help to thicken up this so that we can spread it right on top of it.
crostini, yeah.
Here we go. So
I
you just take a
love this.
blunt end.
Who needs a machine?
Exactly. You just take a blunt end of a rolling pin.
He's right.
Or if you've got a potato masher, go ahead.
That's a good
That's going to
idea.
make it go
Okay.
faster. But we just do that.
Because you want to leave some texture in there too, right, Ryan?
You got it. Beans are that
Yeah.
great thickener.
Oh, they are. Yeah. This is a great way also if you would mash up some of these beans separately. You could use it as a thickener for any kind of soup that calls for mainly a cream-based soup. And when you don't want to use cream, use pureed beans. All right.
So now
Done?
we're just going to kill the heat. Let's let it cool.
Okay, but can I taste it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll see if it needs anything. I don't think so, but. Doesn't need salt or anything. Perfect.
Great.
Pancetta gives it that nice little bit of salt that it needs.
Yeah.
Delicious.
All right. It's time to plate this.
It got really thick too, so it's great. It'd be perfect on top of the bread.
I think so. Why don't I plate a couple of these? Do
Yep.
you want to, those backyard farms tomatoes I love. Would you mind chopping a few of those and we'll just garnish on top?
love to cut them.
Awesome.
Cut up some of those. Okay. So now you're going to plate this, on this dish. Okay, good. So
You
I'll
got
just
it.
do a couple.
We want this to cool down just a little bit.
Okay.
So hot beans on top of the bruschetta
Yeah.
won't work.
These are really nice tomatoes because they're so plump and they look great. So is that good if I cut them like that?
I think that's perfect.
Okay.
We want this to be kind of rustic
Yeah.
anyways, from cutting the kale to the tomatoes right here. It's okay that they're...
It kind of dresses them up nicely too.
You got it.
Okay, that's a great first course, I think. What do you think?
I think that's perfect.
I think it's lovely, ready to eat. So let's just present that to you. There you go. Crostini with kale, beans, and Ryan's special touch.
Next up is the bacchio.
A bacchio, which means
Lamb.
lamb. Boy, he learned a lot on my show, I'll tell you. All right, so we have lamb here. This is a leg of lamb,
Yes.
a boned leg of lamb.
You got it. That's going to
Okay.
be the easiest. I mean, you also will find them with the bone in, but
Yeah.
this will save everybody some time.
Okay, so we're going to put this together, but first we want to do all of the pre-prep necessary for this lamb to cook beautifully, right?
You got
so
it.
why don't we put this off to the side?
You got it.
All right, so we want to work with the clean things first. That's what I always say in the kitchen. So what is going to go with lamb?
So what we have is the stuffing that
All
we're
right,
going to make
yeah.
for the inside. We're going to butterfly the lamb leg out, then we're going to have this stuffing.
Okay.
So we've got rosemary, we've got some shallot, we've got garlic, we have some fennel that we grow at the farm here, and some orange zest, and salt, pepper, and breadcrumbs.
And breadcrumbs. Okay, so that's going to be the filling.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what we want to do is just get this stuff just chopped up really fine.
All right.
And we're going to spread it right on the inside.
Okay.
And with lamb, we want to also make sure that we season pretty liberally as well too, because we're going to, lamb itself is so lean in general.
Yes.
And then we're going to braise it for a long time, so a lot of
Yeah.
those things are going to leach
But it's a
right out.
classic dish from Italy.
Sure is.
Especially in southern Italy, especially Rome. You can't go to Rome without having a bacchio al forno, which means roasted lamb in the oven. However, this is going to be a braised lamb. This
You
is going
got
to
it.
take a little longer to cook. So always use fresh herbs. I'm so glad.
You got it.
learned that from Ciao Italia, I know.
Always.
So fresh herbs, because that will make a big difference. Dried herbs really have lost a lot of their oils, so you're not going to have the same flavor. If you have to use dried herbs, okay, we understand, but it's better to use fresh. And you can find them in your grocery store in little packets, or you can grow a little pot on your windowsill. So what do you want me to do?
Why don't you, can you take some of these Backyard Farms tomatoes?
Yes.
What we're going to do is prep those for the braise.
All
so
right.
if you want to just dice those into kind of bigger chunks.
Do you want them diced, or do you want them cut in half, or what? Just in pieces?
Either way, these things are going to kind of cook down inside that sauce over time.
Okay, good. Now, if you didn't have these, you could use canned tomatoes, I guess, right?
Absolutely.
Plum tomatoes, but this is much better.
You could use some canned San Marzanos or something. Would be perfectly beautiful.
But these have a really wonderful flavor, so they're going to be good for this. So how many do we need, like?
I would say go ahead and do that.
All of them?
Go ahead and do that whole bowl.
Okay, because the lamb weighs how much?
Lamb weighs 5 pounds.
Okay, okay. Ooh, those onions are really getting to me. Now, where's the family from again?
My mom's side of the family is all from Bruschetta. It's a little island right in the Bay of Naples.
Yes, Bruschetta, yes. Beautiful. All right, so we have the tomatoes. Now what?
That's perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all these dry ingredients
Yeah.
that I've got going over here, the shallots, the onions, the rosemary. We're going to just put them all in a bowl here and create this stuffing.
Okay, Ryan, so we're going to add vegetables to this wonderful lamb that you're doing. I use the tops on the celery, by the way, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's a lot of flavor. So we just have to give these a coarse chop, right? That's what you said.
You got
all
it.
the leaves. I love the leaves because they add just so much flavor. A lot of people, don't use the tops, but they're great in soup as well. Let me just give them another little chop. They smell great. And I notice you're putting orange in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Orange and rosemary with mint.
Yeah, the mint,
Really
definitely.
nice.
For lamb, you've got to have mint. Absolutely.
It's that kind of that creative take on, gremolata, that idea of citrus and herbs and
Well,
stuff.
I think that's a good part of being a chef, is to take great ingredients and use them in really novel ways.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're doing. All right, so here is the celery. I'm going to put that right in here. So we have celery, carrots, tomatoes, breadcrumbs. Now, did you make those breadcrumbs yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. So we just take day-old bread, take the crust off, toast
know.
them, put them in the food processor.
I don't understand people who buy breadcrumbs in a box because, they're really not as good as fresh breadcrumbs. And
Yeah.
it's so easy to do with stale bread, All right, so we have that smelling very good.
All right, so we're just going to pat and dry down this meat, and then we're going to butterfly
Okay.
the leg of lamb.
And you want to pat it to take off all the excess juices because you're going to put a rub on this, and it really wouldn't stick here very well if it was just too wet looking. So you want to dry the meat off.
You got it.
All right, so now.
So in general, what we're trying to do is try to create a surface that's all uniform.
Yes.
So you're going to take just some of these
Yep.
big muscles and just open them right
Like
up.
like a book. So that's
Exactly.
what we mean by butterfly.
Exactly.
Yeah, so everything cooks at the same rate. Looks
Exactly.
good.
And with lamb, the muscles are just a little bit smaller than, say, like if you're doing a braciole with
Yeah.
veal or
Beef,
something
yeah.
that's really big. So what you want to just do is just kind of score not too deep
Yeah.
and then just open things up because we don't want it too thick in the middle too.
No.
So we want to have all this good stuffing, be ready to accept all
Yes.
this stuff. But because this thing was already boned,
Yeah.
they do a good job of getting it most of the way there.
And you want to leave some of that fat there because that's flavor, right?
Exactly.
If you got to get a piece that has an excess amount of fat, then you would want to trim some, but you got to leave some for flavor.
Yeah, lamb is so lean in general
Yeah.
that you need. I leave the fat cap on the top as well too,
Yes, yes.
because a lot of that
Keeps
stuff
it
will
moist.
render right out while it's
Right.
braising.
Okay, Ryan.
So we've got it butterflied here, and we have the stuffing. So what we've also done is add some fennel, some crushed fennel seed
Okay.
that we have from the farm there,
Yeah,
with the orange, the breadcrumbs, and we
Okay.
just want to go ahead and put a real liberal amount on here.
It smells beautiful.
Yeah, that orange is really nice.
Yeah.
So what we're also going to do is, so we're going to spread it out, and then we're going to season really heavily with salt and pepper as
Okay.
well on the inside. So just kind of give it a rub. It's going to be a little bit messy out here. Some of it's going to rub off there. But what we want to do is try to get it into all those little cracks right in
Yes.
here. So you can kind of press it in right there.
Yeah.
And then what we'll do, actually, if you wouldn't mind, we'll do grabbing a little bit of the salt and pepper.
Sure. Let me get it. Are you using sea salt here?
Yeah, we're using sea
Okay.
salt there.
And give it a nice liberal amount
You
of
got it.
salt.
So we're going to put a liberal amount on the outside as well, too, once we get it all tied up.
And this is butcher's pepper, so it's coarse ground black pepper,
You got it.
which I love. What do you think? Enough?
I think that's beautiful.
Okay, good. All right,
All right,
now.
so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look and see. We're going to roll this. We're going to kind of just press and roll. So like there are
Okay.
these little edges there that are going to be a little bit clumsy. So we just use our hands
Yeah.
to kind of crunch it in as
Okay.
we go. So we're going to find a little bit here. We're going to see as we go. We're going to get it as tight as we can.
Okay.
And then once we're here, we are going to tie it off.
Okay.
So we've got butcher string over here.
Okay, so this is kitchen string. I know that there are people who try to do this with dental floss. You really shouldn't do that. You've got to use kitchen string. So you're going to tie it.
You got it.
In
So
different
you,
places.
You
yeah.
got it. You can do like a running butcher stitch. That's more complicated, but
Right.
this is a nice, easy one.
Yeah.
You're just going
Underneath the
slide
meat.
underneath, right to the trunk of the meat.
Yeah.
You're going to give it a tie.
Yeah.
You're going to give it a twist.
Yeah.
And you're going to give it another tie, and we just go ahead and leave these, and we'll trim these edges at the end.
Right.
There we go. Little haircut for everybody here.
Now, what would you serve this with?
Something like this is good. So it's going to be really nice and rich. I'd do something like a polenta, or
Polenta.
something
That's
that
what I was thinking too. Yes.
beautiful. That's got that nice like corn flavor, but
Yeah.
it's not
A nice
not going to
creamy
compete.
polenta. Okay. Right.
Wonderful.
That is gorgeous.
We're ready for the braise. All right, so we got a nice browning on all sides.
Wow, that looks really beautiful. Okay.
So let's deglaze the
Okay.
pan first.
Yep.
So what we like to do is take all the wine that we would have added and reduce that by half.
Okay,
So if we're
great.
saying a cup of wine, we start with 2, reduce it by half. It just gives you a little bit more an intense winey flavor.
Concentrated flavor.
So we're going to be careful just for a little splatter here. You're going to get some steam. And we're going to
Do
just
we
go
want
ahead-
to crunch up those
You got it.
crunchies? Yeah.
You got it.
Right. Get all that flavor out of the
You got it,
bottom
because
of
you
the
got little
pan.
bits of breadcrumb
Right.
and
Everything.
salt
That's all
and-
flavor you want.
You got it. So we're going to let that go right now, and then we're going to take all those aromatics that you cut up for us
Yes,
before.
yes, I agree.
So we got onions, celery, carrots, ready to go. All those kids in the pool.
Yeah.
And we're
Tomato.
also going to take a couple bay leaves,
Okay.
and we're going to take 4 sticks of thyme. And just kind of break those up, leave them in whole.
Okay.
And we're going to take those beautiful tomatoes
Yes.
as well. Dump them all in here, kind of split them up evenly.
Now you can really start to get an idea of how all of this is building flavor. And this is going to cook in a really low oven, right, Ryan?
You got it. Low oven for, so something like this would be a oven like 300 for 2 hours.
Yeah. Covered, right?
Covered.
Yeah.
You got it. We're going to cover it, and then we kind of let it rest when it's all done and come back up to temperature. So, and we have stock right here. So we're using chicken stock. By all means, if you've got some kind of beef stock or
Yeah.
something, that would be really appropriate here too. Chicken stock's kind of always that thing that's hanging around.
Yeah.
So homemade, of course. All right. So we put some stock in, and what we're going to do is cover this up and get it in the oven.
Okay. Can't wait.
What we're going to do to start this Ciao Budino is I'm going to start the dry ingredients off the heat right there.
Okay.
If you could just warm, that's our milk and
And
our heavy cream.
Cream, right.
So we've got cocoa powder right here.
Yeah.
We've got that. So we've got cocoa powder in here, and then we've got our sugar,
Yeah.
and then we're also going to put our cornstarch in there as well too. The cornstarch is going to be our thickener,
thickener,
for this.
yeah.
So we got cornstarch in here, and I even take our vanilla
Okay.
at the same time.
And put it in?
Give it a good solid.
yeah.
You got it. Teaspoon and a half at least.
You could probably use a vanilla bean if you wanted to too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so while this is warm here,
Yeah.
what I'm doing is just starting to whisk these dry ingredients and a little
Right.
bit of that vanilla together.
Yeah.
And I've got some boiling water.
Okay.
Water just off the boil on the other side. So the way that this thing starts, we start it in the pan that it's going to finish cooking
But
in
this
as
is
well,
off
too.
the heat right now.
You got
Yeah.
it. No heat right now, but we keep it close because a lot of these things need heat
Yes.
as well,
yeah.
too.
Okay.
So, if you want to, you could take it to the counter if you like. But
Yeah.
so we're just going to add boiling water, little bits at a time. And so what we're trying to do right here is just make a really nice paste. Hey, thanks for the assist on that.
Yeah.
We're trying to make a really nice paste. And so you want it to be that kind of like
Chocolate sauce.
you got it.
Yeah.
Nice and sticky, but you
Yeah.
also want to make sure that we get to the edges as well too, so that you don't have any dry ingredients, especially because some of the dry ingredients could be that cornstarch that
right.
we need
Which
to
could be lumpy. But one of the things you could do with cornstarch, if you put it in a mixture like this, is run it through a fine sieve first.
You got it.
And that'll get the lumps out. All right, that's looking good. I think the milk and cream is starting to get warm. Now, do you want it real hot? Right just underneath the boil, right?
You got it.
Okay.
And then we can stop that right now. And what the next step that we've got to this, so we've got this the chocolate paste here.
Yeah.
And then we're going to add our eggs. We've got 6 egg yolks.
Okay.
And we're going to just kind of try to add them as close to one at a time as we
Right.
can, and just stir them in there.
Yeah.
Again, no heat yet on this, so we're safe here. And so we're just adding our
Otherwise,
eggs.
if we had heat under there, we would be scrambling those egg yolks.
That'd be the most interesting scrambled eggs I can think of.
Jeez. Okay.
I'm going to start to give this a really nice whisk. We've got all those eggs incorporated.
Right, so it's
Now-
nice and smooth.
You got it. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to add in this.
The milk.
You got it, milk and cream.
Okay.
We want to do it in 3 different batches because,
All right.
again, we take it
Let's
off the
see.
heat right there. And then we want to avoid is curdling these eggs.
So I'm going to give you like a third.
That sounds perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. And you just want to kind of keep things moving
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And so the end stage of this, so you've started with the chocolate paste, then you've added the eggs, now you're going to add the cream and the milk. And so you're going to want to get to the consistency of like hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate sounds
And
good
with all
to
that
me.
cocoa powder in there, it really does kind of smell
yeah.
like it too.
Yeah.
We want it kind of close to a boil. So
Okay.
for cornstarch to
Yeah.
start its reaction,
Yeah.
we need it to boil.
Okay.
And so we're going to get it right up there. We're going to let it go for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to it.
Okay.
All right, so we want to just put them right into either the glass jar or whatever you want to serve them in
Yeah.
right away because it's going to start setting right
Right.
away.
And do you have to cover them because they could get a little skin on top of them?
You got it. So what
Yeah.
we're going to let them do is just cool and come down to temperature, and then we'll cover them and just tuck them in the fridge.
Ugh.
And like we said before, these can be done a day, 2 a day
Yeah.
in advance.
You know, we could add some additional flavoring to this, like a little bit of amaretto, maybe?
Ooh, that sounds like a good idea. You know what I would do? I would have an Aperol spritz while I'm adding the amaretto.
All right, now
Just
that's a little bit more dangerous, yeah. But that's
We
an
like to
idea.
live on the edge once in a while, don't we?
Yes. All right.
So once we cover these, another cool thing that you can also do if you're having people over, doing a dinner party or that kind of scenario, is that you can use like a little jam jar.
Yes.
Cover these guys, put a top on them. Like I said, keep them in the fridge for a few
Cute.
days.
And then you could just put a little pipe of whipped cream over the top.
Perfect.
Excellent. I'm ready to eat. Are you?
I'm ready to eat.
From dishwasher on Ciao Italia to owner of this beautiful restaurant. Look at what you made today. Let's tell everybody.
You got it. So we have a kale and white bean crostini with those beautiful tomatoes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Then we've got our lamb braciole with some white corn polenta.
Delicious.
And then we've got the chocolate budino that's got a little sea salt on olive oil with whipped cream.
This was the perfect menu, Ryan. And you know what? You have really impressed me. Graduated from dishwasher to restaurateur with this apron.
Thank you.
No
Thank
mistakes. And until I see you nella cucina again, I'm Mary Ann Esposito.
And I'm RJ Joyce.
Ciao.
So for all those people in our business, there are a lot of people that help us out along the way. There are people that show you how to run a dining room. There are people that show you how to cook a piece of steak. And then there are people that teach you or inspire you to have passion for food. Mary Ann did that for me a lot of years ago. So I just want to take a second to say thanks. Mary Ann, I love you. Ciao.